10 animals you didn't know can live after death. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to live for eternity? Numerous people have been intrigued by immortality and have searched for the secret of living forever for centuries. Well, it is sad to say that while we are still in search, it seems like we've been beaten to it by our animal friends to an extent. That leads us to the gist of today. We will be looking at 10 animals that can live after death. Make sure you stay tuned for number 1, as this creature just might be immortal and you could learn one or two secrets about immortality. If you're new here, subscribe to our channel to stay updated with new videos daily. Number 10. Cockroaches. Cockroaches, infamous for their tenacity, are often cited as the most likely survivors of any sort of disaster. Some pundits even claim that the critters can live without their heads. It turns out that this assertion is fact. At times, headless cockroaches can live for weeks. Now, let's understand why cockroaches and many other insects can survive decapitation. Physiologist and biochemist Joseph G. Kunkel, who studies cockroach development, says that cockroaches are poikilothermic, or cold-blooded. Consequently, they do not expend energy to heat themselves up, and so can get by on much less food than human needs. They can survive for weeks after just one meal. As long as some predator doesn't eat them, they will just stay quiet and sit around. Also, cockroaches do not have the same kind of circulatory system as people. After you cut their heads off, their necks often just seal off by just clotting. He adds, there's no uncontrolled bleeding. Moreover, the hardy vermin breathe through spiracles or little holes in each body segment. The cockroach's brain does not control the breathing, and blood does not carry oxygen throughout the body. Rather, the spiracles pipe air directly to tissues through a set of tubes called tracheae. Number 9. Bees. We are quite certain you least expect bees to be on this list, but there definitely is an explanation to this. A honeybee stings even when detached from the bee body, particularly the brain. From a mammalian point of view, it can continue to operate, dig the sting in deeper and pump in the venom, so the still fresh and functional abdomens of the decapitated honeybees can function, just as they do when ripped from the body by stinging. It doesn't matter how the sting gets into your tissues. The exoskeleton, muscles, nerve ganglion, and venom sac act just like they would from a real sting. These actions are not just controlled by the bee's simple brain, but rather by involuntary impulses. So if you think that you're safe picking up a dead bee or walking around a garden barefooted, think again. Number 8. Chickens. 70 years ago, a farmer beheaded a chicken in Colorado, and it refused to die. Mike, as the bird became known, survived for 18 months and became famous. But how did he live without a head for so long? Asked Chris Stoker Walker. Now, let's find out what happens when a chicken's head is chopped off. Beheading disconnects the brain from the rest of the body, but for a short period the spinal cord circuits still have residual oxygen, and even without input from the brain, this circuit starts spontaneously. The neurons become active, the legs start moving, says Dr. Tom Smodlers of Newcastle University. Usually, the chicken is lying down when this happens, but in rare cases, neurons will fire a motor program of running and the chicken will indeed run off a while. But not for 18 months, more like 15 minutes or so. So if you want to find out how the story of the chicken Mike ended, drop a comment and we will do a video on that story. Just before we get to discover the more of all these animals, take out the next 5 seconds to like and subscribe. It's a challenge, and make sure to comment once you've done that. Number 7. The octopus. If you're familiar with ASMR videos on YouTube, I'm pretty sure you must have stumbled on videos online where an octopus, after being chopped up, continues to move. This weird but interesting meal is mostly loved by Asians. Yeah, I know it can be shocking. Now, here is why these moving tentacles can end up stuck in your throat. If you cut off an octopus arm, the severed limb will still move about for at least an hour. That's because each arm has its own control system, a network of around 400,000 neurons that can guide its movements without any command from the creature's brain. The hundreds of suckers along each arm can also behave independently. If a sucker touches an object, it will change its shape to form a tight seal and contract its muscles to create a powerful suction. It grabs and sucks by reflex. This setup allows the octopus to control its astonishing appendages without often taxing its brain, and these tentacles can live for days after being disconnected from the head. Number 6. Salamanders. Salamanders have been considered to have magical and supernatural powers. You want to see these powers? Well, chop off a part of the salamander's body and come check on it later, you will be astonished. They can regrow entire limbs and regenerate parts of major organs, an ability that relies on their immune systems, research now shows. A study of an aquatic salamander reveals that immune cells called macrophages are critical in the early stages of regenerating lost limbs. All salamanders demonstrate the potential to regenerate complex structures. They can regrow, among other parts, entire limbs, a tail, ocular tissues, substantial parts of their central nervous system, and heart. Humans have this capacity to regenerate, but not to that extent. At the moment, researchers are still doing experiments and studying how we can one day get to explore these unimaginative superpowers. Number 5. Frogs. Sometime back in 2016, a video of a headless toad jumping around a Connecticut forest was making waves online after a researcher uploaded the footage to Twitter. This left scientists stumped. The adult toad was discovered in 2016 by Jill Fleming, a herpetologist and University of Massachusetts student. It had a perfectly healthy looking body and legs, but was missing eyes, a nose, jaws, and a tongue. It also had one small hole where its mouth should be. Now, how does a toad jump around without a head? The brainstem is mostly left behind after decapitation, and this brainstem governs many of the central and necessary parts of the rest of our bodies. This means that the body can survive with only that part of the brain, even though the parts of the brain associated with consciousness, memory, and decision making are absent. Number 4. Flies. If you're very observant, you may have noticed this happen at your local pool or when outdoors. Seemingly, lifeless fruit flies by all season have drowned, then get up and fly away. It is this physiologic phenomenon that is posing new questions about how the body reacts to stresses like low oxygen. Insects like the fruit fly have an uncanny ability to put themselves into a coma-like state when they sense low oxygen levels in their body. According to the researchers at Florida Atlantic University, they can stay that way for up to 72 hours. It so happens that these little creatures put themselves in a state of suspended animation as a survival mechanism, and in the process protects the neurons in their brains. So the next time you see a fly flying around and you stroke it and it flies, you're not a magician or miracle worker. Number 3. Turtles. Turtles have been known to live for centuries, and it's been discovered that over time they don't seem to break down. The New York Times reports that they can live indefinitely if they can avoid predators and disease. Giant tortoises have very slow metabolisms, which means that they burn energy at a slower rate than smaller and faster animals. According to this theory, tortoises live longer because their slow metabolisms burn less energy, which means less harm to the cells in their bodies. And that's not all. One of the adaptations common to the group is the ability to hold their breath for extended periods. Though some are capable of holding their breath for only 30 minutes, other turtles in some circumstances spend months underwater without breaching the surface to breathe. New research has revealed that when turtle embryos are exposed to low levels of oxygen, it programs their hearts to be more resilient to such conditions for the rest of their lives. Right now, we will be looking at an absolute ferocious, venomous, and deadly animal that can kill you even when its head is chopped off. Number 2. Snakes. They say karma comes back to bite you in the butt. And we have seen several cases where this karma is the head of a decapitated snake, either stinging its attacker or in the worst case, its own body. Hilarious, right? That's the case of a copperhead snake in a YouTube video that's biting its own tail after it has been beheaded. Now, here is why something as crazy as that can happen. A snake's head contains its fangs, and these venom sacs still have the ability to bite you and deliver deadly venom, even when it's decapitated. The snake has heat sensors and detects threats and movements, and at that particular moment when the head still senses danger, it attacks its enemy, be it human or whatever creature, even if it's hours after decapitation. So you better be careful around snakes, living or dead. Just before we get to discover the most immortal of all these animals, take out the next 5 seconds to like and subscribe if you haven't. It is a challenge, and make sure to comment once you've done that. Number 1. Flatworms. This species coming up at the top of this list is no surprise, but still is amazing. There are several animals that can regenerate, and worms are part of that list. But in this case, flatworms have such an astounding skill, or let's say gift. Cutting an earthworm into two, you'll notice that only the head regenerates a tail, but the tail part dies off. Flatworms rather regenerate both parts, that is, the tail grows a head and the head grows a tail, and it conserves its old memories, maybe like about his old girlfriend. I guess one male will end up with 2 girlfriends. I know that sounds hideous. A research was carried out by the Nottingham University by cutting a single worm into several pieces progressively, which yielded a colony of thousands of worms that were fully healthy and kept multiplying. This shows that a single worm can live forever in the absence of predators and disease. Which zombie-like and immortal animal is your favorite? Let us know in the comment section down below and name which one is probably still going to exist until the end of time. Don't forget to like this video, drop a comment and subscribe to our channel for more educative and amazing videos.